We aim to be around that 75 to 80 pound of milk a day. And we've had milk quality premiums for about at least 10 years in a row. Currently in that ration is corn silage, alfalfa haylage. We have a mineral mix that we purchase, soybean meal, which we also purchase. We actually grow soybeans here. They're registered Holsteins. All the cows are registered Holsteins. You'll see a few red and whites. That's a recessive trait in the Holstein breed. This trench is our corn silage that we have left from crop year 2023.
Welcome everybody. Today we are on the University of Maryland farm. So here with Brian and Fabiana Cardoso. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. We will make a tour and show what's happened here. So welcome everybody.
So we'll walk into the parlor here. This is our milking parlor where we milk the cows twice a day. It's a double 8 parallel parlor. So the cows come in and stand parallel to each other. We milk between the hind legs of the cows, 8 on a side. We use a pre-dip. It's a hydrogen peroxide based solution injected with air that makes it foam up. We have a foaming brush to clean the teats prior to milking. We also force strip every cow to make sure they don't have any mastitis or any kind of infection before we attach the milker. We have automatic takeoffs on the milking system. They also have the option to put it in a manual takeoff if the cow has a slow quarter or something. So we milk 8 on a side, and it's a rapid exit. So when all 8 are finished, we can let them go all at once. All 8 can go at once. After they're done milking, we use a iodine-based barrier teat dip to sterilize the udder and the teats after milking. There's usually 2 or 3 here in the parlor. One person can milk, but it keeps you hopping. Ideally, 2 or 3 people are in the parlor here at one time. And to milk 70 cows, it takes us about an hour and 15 minutes.
It's twice a day?
Yes, twice a day. Yep. We milk about 6 o'clock in the morning and about 3:30 in the afternoon. We're on a 10-hour workday shift structure, so we don't milk on a 12 and 12-hour intervals. We milk about 9.5 hours in the afternoon, and then the cows will have about 14.5 hours of milk in them in the morning. So it's a little uneven, but it works. The cows seem to adjust, and we keep them on that same schedule, and they get used to that schedule.
And about milk quality, do you know the numbers? SCC?
Yeah, our somatic cell count usually pretty low, low 100,000. We've had quality premiums from Land O'Lakes. We ship our milk to Land O'Lakes Co-op, and we've had milk quality premiums for about at least 10 years in a row. We've gotten awards recognizing us for superior milk quality. So we always strive to keep a low somatic cell count.
And do you know about the protein, the fat, the
numbers? Our rolling herd average is currently 26,000 pound of milk in a 305-day lactation, and we run a 4.2% butterfat and a 3.1% protein.
It's true protein, not true.
Yeah. Correct.
True
protein. Okay. Yes. Yep. We found that depending on if we feed certain types of feed, it'll bump the butterfat up a little bit. Last year we fed cottonseed for about 6 months, and our butterfat got as high as 4.5 there for a little while. We're not feeding cottonseed now currently, so we've backed down to about 4.3.
Okay, but for example, the price of cottonseed and the premium that you receive for the milk quality, they compensate?
It worked at the time, but because it's a little more expensive, that's why we're not feeding it currently. We had gotten it to try to stretch our corn silage a little bit. We were running low on corn silage, so that's why we fed it for that short period. We liked the results, but it was definitely an increase in cost. So we have a footbath system that the cows walk through on either side when they exit the parlor. 4 times a week, it contains a copper sulfate solution, also a binder in with water that helps the copper stick to their feet. It helps keep the feet harder and more healthy. The other 3 days a week, it's just a a straight water solution, just to keep the cows consistent, and they know that they got to walk through that water before they exit the parlor. It helps with our herd health and improve our, cut down on our herd heel warts and improve the hoof health. We got fans in the parlor. You'll see fans out in the barns. Try to keep the cows as cool as possible at all times. The fans, I had them on this morning. Today's kind of a cooler day, but I even had them on this morning. It's amazing when the cows all get in here in the holding pen, how warm it gets. They throw off a lot of heat, and so a lot of times, even during the cooler months, we'll have the fans on while we're milking.
Fans and water, or just?
We have sprinkler system in the barn, yeah, with just fans in here. But I can show you the sprinklers in the freestall barn out here. Yep. This is a foot trim and shoot. We do a lot of our own hoof trimming. Our protocol is we trim every cow at dry off, and as needed if they have a problem throughout their lactation. So every cow gets trimmed at least once a year. The ones that have more issues, they get trimmed more frequently. Yeah, we have a scale in, but this is a chute that we use to move cattle. We do a lot of our breeding here, and anytime a cow needs attention, we'll run them in the chute, and there's a scale in behind it. If we need to weigh the cows for a lot of our research projects, want to know weights of the animals, and so the scale is convenient in behind the chute there. All right, this is our main freestall barn where the milking herd is housed. You can see we have ample fans throughout the barn. The cows are all fed a total mixed ration. Currently in that ration is corn silage, alfalfa haylage. We have a mineral mix that we purchase, soybean meal, which we also purchase. We actually grow soybeans here, but we don't have any way of processing them, so we sell the soybeans to help offset the cost of buying soybean meal. There's also, we put a small amount of sodium bicarbonate and rumen bypass protein in our TMR. The freestall barn has waterbed mattresses in the stalls. There's 70 stalls in the freestall barn. They have waterbed mattresses, and we put a bedding on top. It's a mixture of chopped straw, sawdust, and ground limestone to help keep the bacteria down on the mats. We reapply the bedding every other day, and we clean the stalls at least twice, if not 3 or 4 times a day. At least at each milking, the stalls are cleaned out, the manure is scraped off the sides, and the bedding is moved around so it's clean for when the cows come back out after milking. So the sprinkler system, you can see here, here's one of the sprinkler valves. It's set on anytime the temperature gets above 83 degrees, the sprinklers will kick on, and they run about every 10 minutes. They'll run for about 20 to 30 seconds. And it's to not only keep the cows cooler, but entice them to stay up at the bunk and eat. We do see they maintain their feed intake levels even when it's hot. We think that a sprinkler system has a lot to do with that. In addition to the fans. Yes, the sprinkler system is an automatic system. Yep. And we can adjust the temperature. If we think like 83 is too warm, we can always adjust it down. But 83 seems to be a good temperature for us. That's Fahrenheit, 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, we feed once. All the animals get fed once a day. We do that in the morning. We scrape out all the refusals from the previous day and apply fresh feed. And then we push it up. We come by and push it up at least 3 times a day, if not more. You'll see the cows all are wearing a collar. That's a activity monitoring system that monitors their activity and also their rumination. Once they've worn the collar for about a week, it establishes a base for that individual cow and kind of knows what her normal routine is. The data is attached to a computer in my office, and we can monitor anything that's out of the ordinary for that cow. Like an increased activity might mean she's in heat. decreased activity might mean she's not feeling well. Rumination, a decrease in rumination is the one that we are most interested in, because a lot of times that's when they're sick and they need attention of some sort. When I get here in the mornings, one of the first things I do is go check that computer, so I know if there's a cow I need to go see right away. I can do that. Every cow when they're born receives an RFID tag, which is a white button you can't see. It's inside their ear there. And then also a numbered tag. That's how we identify all the animals. The RFID tag is used for identifying them when they come in the milking parlor. The number tag is how the employees communicate with each other on certain cows. The cows all have names. They're fully registered with the Holstein Association, but not all the employees know the names. But they all know they can come look at a cow and identify them by their number tag. So that's what we use. And the RFID and the number tag go in the day they're born. We've got two brushes here that the cows just love. They like rubbing up against them. She'll stimulate it here in a minute. It should start moving. Or not. Maybe it's not working.
Yeah.
There it goes. And if they learn how to work it right, it'll rub up on their back, and some of them will stand there and let it scratch their hind end. We have a flush system here in the barn. We use recycled lagoon water to flush out our barns, to clean the manure out. And down below here is a separator system. It separates the solids from the liquids. It's a 3-part system. Each section separates a little more solids. So ideally, all we have left is dirty water that goes over to the lagoons that we then recycle. The separated solids we haul out onto our fields and use as fertilizer for the fields where we plant our crops every spring. We usually haul the manure out in the fields in the spring or in the fall. We've been hauling some here lately. After we took corn off, we've been hauling a lot of it out onto the field. There's 70 stalls in here. I can't tell you the dimensions of them, but there's 70 stalls in here. So that's one of the reasons why we try to maintain a herd of 70 to 75 milking, because we don't like to get it too overcrowded, because then we start seeing some other problems with the cows if they're a little overcrowded. The fans are on the temperature sensor also. They kick on a lot quicker than the sprinklers, but I think they might come on at like 70 degrees. I'm not sure what it's set on, but I think 70 or 72 is probably what they're set on. Yep. They're registered Holsteins. All the cows are registered Holsteins. You'll see a few red and whites. That's a recessive trait in the Holstein breed. They actually have their own recognized breed, a registered red and white Holstein, but all the registrations are done through the National Holstein Association in Brattleboro, Vermont. The Holstein breed is the most popular breed in the United States. They also are the highest produced for milk production, the highest producing breed of all the 7 major dairy breeds. So with the activity monitoring system, it's an SCR system. There's a number of different activity systems out there promoted by different companies. The SCR system is one of the early ones that came out, and that's the one we chose to go with. You can see the transponder that sits in behind their left ear. That's what records all the data. There is some cost involved in getting the system established, but because our employees are only here from 6 o'clock in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, the monitoring system has, I think, more than paid for itself, because it catches a lot of things that go on overnight. Especially in the summer, a lot of cows will show their heats during the night. And so it picks up things like that we can tell by looking at the computer the next morning that we might not catch otherwise, because there's nobody here during the night. So.
And what strategy do you use to beat the heat stress? For example, strategy in the diets and all the things.
Well, the fans, lots of fans, the sprinkler system, just keeping the feed fresh, that helps. And Occasionally, well, in the summer we'll put a additive in the feed. It's called Promote is the product name. It's called a cooling pack. It helps keep the feed fresher. It's just a small amount that we add into the total mixed ration that's supposed to help keep the feed fresher. It's like a powdery substance, almost similar to like our mineral. It's very similar kind of substance. It's a little grainy, but it's not real big. It mixes in. You never even see it in the.
It doesn't have any taste or like smell?
I don't know. I don't
smell at least.
No, it maybe has a little smell, but it's not a odor of any kind, a bad odor or anything. We work closely with a nutritionist from Cargill, who's actually a University of Maryland graduate, and we are constantly tweaking the ration to try to maintain production levels. We aim to be around that 75 to 80 pound of milk a day is kind of our goal. If we get more than that, great. And so we're constantly watching the feed intake, running dry matter samples as we store all our forages in trenches. So there's times where the moisture content might change a little bit, and so we're always running dry matters to see if any slight adjustments need to be made in the ration. Nutritionist comes out, I would say 4 or 5 times a year, if not more. He's very. It helps that he's an alum, and so he enjoys coming here. But he's very good about coming out regularly and talking with us, talking with me, talking with my boss about how the cows look, what they're eating, any changes he recommends, and with the same goals in mind to try to maximize production. So when the weather's when the weather's dry and cooler, not rainy, not too hot, we'll let the cows out off the concrete, and they have access to a pasture lot here just to get off the concrete for about 4 hours in the middle of every day. But like I say, right now, obviously it's been rainy and muddy. We don't let them out when it's like this, but when it dries out and it's nice weather, they love going out. And just even there's on the little hillside there's some natural airflow, and they enjoy laying up on top of the hill, just getting off the concrete to rest their legs for a little bit. So this is our heifer barn we're approaching here. We group our heifers by age. The pen sizes vary. The smaller calves we usually try to keep in a group of 8 to 10. And then as they get older, we might have a larger group. For instance, the group down on this end is our breeding age heifers. Right now it's probably a group of 25 or maybe even 30. They have access to 4 of these pens, but they can also get out on pasture and get some exercise. Our heifers all receive a TMR also. It's formulated a little bit differently than the milk cows. The milking herd is higher in energy because it promotes milk production. The heifers is higher in protein to stimulate growth. Our goal is to freshen our heifers in right at 2 years of age. So we try to keep them growing so that by the time we reach breeding age, they're what we feel is big enough to breed and then freshen in right at 2 years of age. The heifer barn here is a bedded pack in the back. With the front is a concrete slab that we are able to scrape as often as we need to. We usually scrape it about every other day. When it's rainy like this, it gets messier a lot quicker. But the bedded pack just as needed, usually at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, again, depending on the weather. When it's really humid in the summer, the heifers dirty up the pack a lot quicker. Also, it depends on how crowded they are. Obviously, the more heifers in the pen, the faster they're going to get messy. But it seems to work pretty well for us. And they have fans in here also. It's cooler today, so those haven't kicked on, but they're on an automatic timer as well. So the heifers have corn silage, alfalfa haylage, Timothy hay that's usually ground up a little bit to make it a little smaller pieces for them. And then we have a heifer mineral mix that we get from Cargill. that goes in as well. We'll see the dry cows down here in a minute, and they'll have a different ration I'll talk about when we get to that point. Right now, if you count bred heifers, we have 5 different groups, but bred heifers get 1 ration. The open heifers get a 1 ration. So it's just one, even though they're separated into different size groups of size-wise, the open heifers all get the same ration. The bred heifers will get a different ration that is targeted and not only helping them grow, but helping the calf grow also. Yeah, the refusals from the day before in the milk herd get mixed into the heifer rations the next day. That's not a large portion of their diet, but it just mixes, just stretches the silage in it. I mean, it's perfectly good feed. The cows just haven't consumed it all, is usually the case, and so we just feed it to the heifers the following day. So this pen here, this second pen, this is what we call our close-up pen. So this is the next animals due to calve. We usually move them into this area about 2 to 3 weeks before they're due to calve, and they get what we call a slang term would be a steam-up ration to try to get them ready to start producing high levels of milk when they have their calf. It's also formulated to reduce cases of milk fever and retain placentas, things like that that occur after they calve. Their ration is supposed to help prevent some of those things. Again, it's corn silage. There's no alfalfa haylage in the dry cows or the close-up cows mix. It's corn silage based, and then Timothy hay, as well as a mineral mix, and some soybean meal too. So the last pen here is our dry cows. Every cow, our goal is to give every cow a 2-month dry period. Occasionally we'll dry them off a little bit early if they've really slowed down on milk production. We may give them a little bit longer dry period, but 2 months is the goal. To let them rest, let them grow that calf. They'll eat a diet that is, the goal is to kind of maintain their body weight. We don't want the dry cows getting too fat or too skinny during the dry period. And then when it gets close to time to calve, then they'll move to the close-up pen when they get to that 2-week mark before they're due. The cow's gestation is the same as a human, 9 months. So once they get to 2 weeks before their due date, then we start watching them close. We don't do body condition score as a routine practice. When our nutritionist comes and visits, that's one thing he'll look at, is he'll walk through the herd and just observe, not so much score the cows, but he'll see if he thinks he sees too many skinny cows or too many that are overweight, and might adjust the ration based on that. Today, our nutritionist was just here this morning, but his previous visit was about 2 months ago, and he thought the cows looked a little thin then. And so we increased the fat in the total mixed ration for the milking herd. And right away today, he said the cows look really good. He was pleased with the response they had to the increased fat content in the mix. So he was much happier with the body condition on the milking herd today. So here's our trench system where we keep all our forages. Most of these are chopped wet and then packed with a tractor and then allowed to ferment. So this one will be alfalfa haylage. What we're looking at on the face is our second cut in alfalfa haylage. The first cutting is in behind it. And we've been feeding out of this for a little while now. So we also have other trenches here that aren't open. We have triticale that we chop in the spring. That's a cover crop that we plant in the fall, and then we chop it in the spring before it goes to head, before it goes to seed. And it helps with energy also. This is this year's triticale crop, and we'll start feeding that later, probably another month or two. Once the weather starts to get cooler, we'll have corn silage, triticale, and alfalfa haylage in our mixes. And with the cooler weather, we'll be able to keep up with all 3 trenches without having any spoilage. In the warm months, if you have too much trench space open, you end up with a lot of mold because the heat, the feed gets hot because of the warm temperatures, and we can't feed it fast enough. This one will be our third and fourth cutting of alfalfa haylage from this year. We'll hopefully won't need to feed that for a while yet, but we were blessed that we had timely rains this year, and we're going to have a fifth cutting of alfalfa haylage here in a week or so, depending on the weather. So we've been very fortunate. Other parts of the state have been pretty dry this year and haven't been as fortunate. We filled 2 corn silage trenches. This was one of them. And then, so we generally chop 90 acres of corn silage every year. That's kind of the target that we aim for to feed our cows for the next year. We have 35 acres of alfalfa that we chop 5 times a year for haylage. 35 acres times 5 different times we cut it. And then I mentioned in some of the TMR mixes, we have Timothy hay. We bale roughly 50 acres of grass hay every year. Occasionally we'll make some second cutting grass hay. Most of the time we only make it the one time because we don't need more than that, but we generally will make usually about 15 acres a second cutting grass hay that we usually make just baled hay and feed that for calves. This trench is our corn silage that we have left from crop year 2023. So we were very blessed last year. We had a good corn crop, and we're still feeding. We've already made this year's crop, and we're still feeding last year. So that's a good problem to have that much left over from the previous year. We're in good shape as far as quantity of forage right now. So this is one of our commodity bays. This is ground shelled corn. So the corn that we grow that we don't use for corn silage, we shell in whole shells, and we have the whole kernels, and we have a grinder that we have here that'll grind it up real fine, and we add that to the milk cow ration to boost energy, and also we add a little bit to the bred heifer ration to help keep good body condition on them. Not a lot, but we add a little bit to the bred heifer mix. And we do that grinding, as I say, right here on the farm. Any additional shelled corn we have, we use as a cash crop also. We sell off the additional shelled corn that we don't need. This is continuing our commodity shed. This is ground hay, the grass hay that we bale in the summer, and we mix in with our different rations. We chop it up. We use a bale grinder and chop it up finer, and then we add it in with the TMR mixer. And then also some storage here. This is our sawdust we use for bedding in the milk cow barn and also in our calf hutches. And more storage for our grass hay. And here in the far end is our mixture of sawdust, chopped straw, and limestone that we use to bed the freestall barn on our mattresses. That we bed them every other day. This is one of my favorite parts of the operation. This is our calving pen area. When we have cows that are getting ready to have their calf, we try to bring them down here and give them individual pen. They have water, they have feed. We have everything we need. If they do calve, we have everything they need. We have hot water here. We have all our supplies to get both the fresh cow and the calf off to a good start. So these two are due here this week. We saw that we do it 2 things. We look at their due date, and then we do visual observation of the cow. When they appear to be close to calving, then we'll bring them down here. So when our calves are born, within 24 hours, we put them into an individual hutch. They're bedded with sawdust and a little bit of straw. They get fed whole milk from the time they're born to 2 months of age. They're also fed a 20% calf starter grain, and they're given free choice water. They're fed milk in the morning, and then they get free choice water the rest of the day. When the calf's first born, we feed them synthetic colostrum, the colostrum powder that you can get nowadays from a number of different locations. Land O'Lakes makes a brand. Select Sires, one of our AI companies, actually markets a blend of colostrum. That's what we always use. Every calf gets a gallon of colostrum at birth, and they also get their navel dipped, and we give them an RFID tag and a number tag so we can keep track of them. The number tag is in age order, so the highest number would be our youngest calf. So they're on milk for 2 months, and then once they're weaned, we usually have a little, like a week-long weaning process where we slowly back off their milk amount and even combine, maybe mix a half amount of milk with a half amount of water, just to transition them into that water. And then they'll go into group housing. We have a larger hutch over here where we introduce them into group housing of groups of anywhere from 2 to 4. Usually a group of 3 or 4, just to get them used to living with another group of animals before we move them to our heifer barn. So all of our bull calves get sold pretty soon after birth. Being a research university, we have student workers here, and mature bulls can get mean, and that's the main reason why we don't keep any mature bulls here. Currently, the beef market in the U.S. is very strong. A lot of our bull calves are currently bringing $5 or $6 a pound when we sell them. So if we get a 100-pound bull calf, we're getting $500 or $600 right now for our bull calves. Just 3 or 4 years ago, you were lucky to get $50 to $100. So it's been very strong here in the last probably 2 years now. This has been going on. The same goes for our cull cow market. For our cull cows, when they finish their productive life here, we send them to the market, and the cull cows are bringing anywhere from $1 a pound to $1.50 a pound right now, which for a 1,500-pound cow, that's a pretty good check you get in return for a cull cow. It wasn't a couple years ago, that price was probably 50 cents a pound. So the beef market is tremendous at the present time.
So we have the Calan gate system here in the freestall barn, and then we have 33 Calan gates, so we can have all the animals here for research purposes. We just moved the cows from the other freestall to here when we have research. We have total of 67 cows in milk right now, but here we can fit only 33 cows. So one of the good things about this Calan gate system here, you can measure dry matter intake per day per each cow, and then also we can take this out, which will facilitate to collect orts or clean all the orts out, and then add new feed. So here we do nutrition experiments. We do experiments with corn silage as well. We just finished one experiment with the short starter corn. We are doing all the agronomic aspects for that before do with the cows. So we're gonna see how is the chemical composition, the fermentation profile of the short starter corn before we do the experiment with the cows. But yeah, pretty much we do experiments with nutrition and a lot of forage crops here on this farm, since we have around 90 acres of field, so we have a good amount of forage that is produced here.